It's very important that you're able to understand MIBs, OIDs, and performance counters within your role as a network manager and also when working with network management applications. In this training video, we'll discuss how management information bases, or MIBs, object identifiers, OIDs, and performance counters are leveraged within SNMP and within WMI respectively. We'll also discuss the requirements of the SCP program on this subject. Let's go ahead and go to my desk now and investigate some MIBs, OIDs, and performance counters and see how different network management applications leverage these and how they're used within the network management protocols themselves. With regards to understanding network management protocols, there are three key terms to understand: MIBs, OIDs, and performance counters, or perfmon. Now, the terms MIB and OID are used interchangeably in most conversations. However, a MIB is actually a larger entity than an OID, and an OID would be included within a MIB. Let me give you an example. If I wanted to write a MIB for pulling environmental statistics from my router, if I were a router manufacturer, for instance, then the MIB would include many different types of variables and statistics, and it would be a total view for that type of statistic from the device, where an OID would be pulling a specific instance with a specific object identifier, which is where the term OID comes from. Let's go ahead now and take a look at some MIBs and OIDs and also at the Windows Performance Counter so you can understand a little better. This is a MIB located on the IETF.org website, and it's the MIB for RFC 1213. This is a very basic MIB used in most network management systems. If you scroll down through the MIB, you'll see that there is a lot of information in the MIB with regards to when it was written and who wrote it, and there are several different types of data within the MIB. Now, we don't need to scroll down through the whole thing to understand that there's a lot of data here, and looking at a MIB in text format can be quite daunting. Instead, let's look at this MIB in the SNMP MIB browser included in the SolarWinds Engineers toolset. Now, MIB2, or RFC 1213, pretty much includes everything in this folder, and it's a long list. Some of the more common things you might be used to seeing are the system MIB, which would include things like the system description, the name, and contact. Let's go ahead and pull this from this device with SNMP. Now, when I did that, the SNMP MIB browser queried the device and pulled all of the data for the OIDs listed within that tree. These are specific OIDs. SysUptime is one specific OID, and its OID is 1.3.6.1.2.1.1.3. Now, we certainly don't expect you to memorize these OIDs, but if you use them as often as I do, they'll start to become second nature to you. These MIBs are used for most types of network monitoring, and some of these are very common you should be familiar with, including the system MIB and the IF table, which is a list of all the different interfaces with their respective traffic values and status. Remember, the MIB is the large file that describes the entire data set, and an OID is a very specific data portion. Think of it as the MIB being the spreadsheet and the OID being a particular cell in that spreadsheet on the device. Now, Windows performance counters are commonly used when you're tracking data on a Windows system. Orion doesn't natively leverage these, but if you use the Orion APM module, you may be leveraging WMI to pull perfmon counters. And there are many different perfmon counters available, including those for processors, for objects, for the paging file, for memory, and the list goes on and on. When you select a specific type of data from the performance object list, then you're presented with a long list of variables you can decide to pull. The key thing to remember about WMI is it's very different from SNMP in terms of how it works. And allowing it through the network, and specifically making sure you have permissions right, are really what usually slows most people down when they're using WMI as a protocol. This concludes the video on understanding MIBs, OIDs, and performance counters. Be sure to visit the SolarWinds.com website and click on Education to learn more on this subject and about the other subjects within the SolarWinds Certified Professional program. Thanks.